The thing about regret is, it doesn't hit you in the moment. It hits you 5 minutes later, when the room is silent and you're still holding that glass, still wearing that smile, and you realize you just nuked your own life in front of 60 people. Before I get into how I managed to destroy my 65th birthday party, my relationship with my son, and pretty much any shot I had at being a happy grandma, hit that like button and subscribe to Anonymous Confessions. Trust me, if you think your family drama is bad, you haven't heard anything yet. Stick around. My name is Deborah, and I live in Houston. Big city, big highways, and the kind of privacy that feels big until you realize everyone knows everyone's business anyway. I live in a suburban neighborhood where the lawns are so perfect they look fake, and the HOA sends you a passive-aggressive letter if your trash cans are visible for more than an hour after pickup. I like that. Order, rules, predictability. When you've been through what I've been through, you cling to order like it's a life raft. Let me back up. My son Ryan he's the kind of man people describe as solid, quiet, reliable. He works as a software guy at one of those big energy companies downtown. He doesn't yell, he doesn't lose his keys, he pays his bills on time. He grew up exactly the way I shaped him to be. I raised him alone. Well, mostly alone. My marriage to Jason ended in a way that left me checking door locks in broad daylight, not because I thought he'd come back, but because the feeling of betrayal sticks to your skin. You start treating your own life like a crime scene. Jason was charming, smooth. He had a way of talking that made you feel like the center of the universe. Turns out, I was just his wallet and his warm bed while he was finding himself. He found himself for 3 years. Then I spotted him in a restaurant with a younger woman, holding her hand like he'd never owed me a dime of back rent or a single ounce of decency. When I threw him out, he shrugged and said, "You control everything. You're impossible to live with." I took that sentence and I turned it into armor. I decided control wasn't a flaw, it was survival. So Ryan, he recently bought this condo downtown, renovating it. He was staying with me temporarily in my neat little house. One night he says, "Mom, I want you to meet Emily." Just like that, casual, like he was announcing he was bringing home a new coffee table, not a person. Inside, my brain went into hyperdrive. Who is she? Where is she from? What does she want? And the question I'd never say out loud, what is she going to take from me? I set up dinner like I was hosting a diplomatic summit. The right napkins, the right candles, music low enough to be ambiance, not distraction. I wore a smile I'd been practicing in mirrors for decades. The smile that says, "I'm fine, I'm warm, I'm welcoming," while inside I'm running a background check on your soul. They showed up on time. Ryan looked happy, really happy, the kind of happy that made my stomach tighten because his happiness felt like it didn't include me. Emily was small, fair, pretty in a way that was almost too careful. She had this smile people have when they've spent their whole lives being judged. She stood straight, but her hands gave her away, fingers locking and unlocking, nervous energy she couldn't hide. "Mrs. Johnson, thank you for having me." Soft voice, hint of a rural twang, small Texas town accent. "Deborah," I corrected, keeping that smile frozen. No formalities at home. Ryan caught the subtext. He always did. He just spent his whole life making sure my subtext never became a problem. Over dinner, Emily told me she grew up in a town so small it had 1 stoplight and 3 churches. Money was tight. She worked, studied, picked up shifts. Now she's a nurse at a private clinic. She spoke calmly. No soap story, no "look how hard my life was," and that irritated me more than if she had complained, because if someone doesn't complain, they're either incredibly strong or incredibly dangerous. I know which one I assumed. Ryan looked at her the way a man looks at a woman he's already chosen. Not maybe, not we'll see. Chosen. He said they met by accident. "She saved my life, Mom. I'm not kidding." My shoulders tightened. "How?" I asked. Too fast, too sharp. Emily dipped her gaze, uncomfortable. Ryan just said, "Long story. She was there when I was in a bad place." I didn't like how he said bad place, like it meant a mild cold, but his voice was heavier. I tracked every word that night, every glance, every pause, and the more I watched, the more I felt like I was being lied to, because Emily was too perfect, too quiet, too low maintenance, and I already know the type of woman who demands everything later without ever raising her voice. When dinner ended, she helped clear plates, not because I asked, she just did it. "You don't have to," I said. "It's no trouble," she answered, calm. I smiled again and thought, of course no trouble, you're already setting up camp. This is the part of the story where I really started digging my own grave. If you're relating to this at all, make sure you're subscribed to Anonymous Confessions. Trust me, if you think your family drama is bad, you haven't heard anything yet. Drop a comment telling me if you've ever instantly disliked someone for no good reason. I'll wait. They got married fast, quiet. No big wedding with me in the front row getting my flowers as the strong mother who raised him right. Just a small thing. What feels good for us, they said. I heard us and understood, not you. Then they flew to Florida. Ryan sent ocean photos. Emily smiled in those pictures like she could finally breathe. I looked at them and felt something ugly growing in my chest. Out loud, I said, I'm glad they got some rest. Inside, I added, on my money, on my nerves, without my consent. After the wedding, Ryan came around less. He spoke more carefully. So I started doing what I do best, throwing small stones. Emily, are you planning to go back to school? These days it's hard without a degree. She'd answer calmly, I am. We're saving right now. I'd nod, smile, and translate in my head, saving means settling in and locking it down. I found faults like some people find their keys, fast, in the dark. Her too quiet laugh, her too simple topics, her family that had no one in offices, no one saying investments without choking on the word, her habit of not arguing, which I was convinced was the most dangerous kind of resistance. Sometimes Ryan would say, Mom, stop, and I'd answer, I'm just asking, because just asking is the universal cover story for women who know they're hurting someone but refuse to call themselves the villain. Then one day, my stomach cramped so sharp, I actually got scared, called 911. Paramedics came fast, checked me out, said nothing looked emergent, but I should get it checked. Called my doctor, soonest appointment, 2 weeks. Perfect. I found an imaging center that could do an ultrasound that same day. Out of network, didn't care. I wanted answers. Inside, it was sterile and expensive. Soft chairs, a coffee machine, glossy magazines. America is great at selling concern in pretty packaging. I grabbed a magazine and was about to sit when I heard a voice I knew. Dr. Constantine, room 3 is ready. Emily, in a white coat, tablet in hand, confident, professional, that calm people get when they look at other people's pain all day. I lifted the magazine higher, hiding, like a teenager. I didn't want her to see me here, not because I was embarrassed, because I didn't want to admit my daughter-in-law wasn't some girl from nowhere. She was trained, inside the system, not someone I could flatten with a look. I watched her talk to colleagues, make notes, smile that calm, professional smile. Then a man stepped out of a room, tall, confident, that physician posture that screams success. He looked at Emily and held the gaze one beat too long, smiled, said something low. Emily smiled back, polite work smile. But I'm not a patient, I'm a mother, and mothers can draw an entire story on empty space so vividly they start believing it. A little later, I heard whispering at the front desk, the kind people do when they want everyone to hear it. Dr. Andrew Polson is double-checking everything again. He used to pursue her, you know. Emily? Seriously? Yeah, before she was with that husband. I froze. The magazine went heavy in my hands. Dr. Andrew Polson. The name landed in my head like a headline. I got my exam, provider said nothing alarming, maybe a spasm, maybe stress, keep an eye on it. Stress, right. I walked out to the parking lot and called Ryan immediately. I was at the clinic where Emily works today. There's a doctor there, he clearly... Ryan was quiet. Then, Mom, are you trying to tell me Emily is cheating on me? I'm saying it looks strange. To who? To you? His voice went cold. She works, people talk, people smile. That's normal. He was looking at her the way men look at. She's beautiful, Mom. You can stop acting surprised. I felt the irritation rise. You're blind. You're too trusting. I trust the person who became my family, not your fantasies. Pause, then quieter, and Mom, lately you've been crossing lines. I stood there in that parking lot with phone at my ear, and for the first time, I felt like I was losing him, not because of a woman, because of me. And instead of stopping, I decided I needed to move faster, because when you're convinced you're right, speed feels like virtue. When I turned 65, I decided I deserved a party. Big, nice, everything done my way. I rented a hall, ordered dinner, hired an MC who knew how to joke without offending anyone, music, lights, guests, everything perfect. I wanted Ryan there, close, smiling at me. I wanted to feel important again. They came. Ryan, calm, contained. Emily, a little tired but bright. And yes, pregnant. When they announced it, the room clapped. People congratulated me like I'd personally made the baby. Someone said, "You're going to be a grandma," like it was an award. I smiled, hugged, thanked them. And inside, everything spun around the same image. The doctor's look, the whispered gossip, my certainty that I was being played. I thought, this is it. This is the moment. I have to protect my son. Such a convenient thought, isn't it? I lifted my glass. The room got quiet, expecting a toast. I smiled the way women smile when they've spent their whole lives practicing in a mirror. And I asked, out loud in front of everyone, "Ryan, are you sure the baby is yours?" The room went silent. Not the cute kind of pause, the real kind. The kind that rings in your ears and then follows you around for years, showing up at 2 a.m. when you thought you were finally asleep. Emily went pale so fast it was like someone drained the color right out of her. She didn't argue, she didn't cry, she just stood up and walked out, didn't look back. Ryan looked at me, and it wasn't a son looking at his mother. It was a grown man looking at someone who had just hurt him on purpose with an audience. He pushed his chair back slowly, carefully, like one wrong move might shatter something else, and he went after his wife. The MC tried to save the night with a joke. Somebody let out a nervous little laugh. Somebody suddenly needed water. I stood there with my glass and my smile because my face is never allowed to admit what's happening inside me. And just like that, with one question, I ruined my own party. Ryan didn't answer my calls. At first, I called a lot, then less. Then I wrote messages that started with, "Ryan, and ended with me deleting everything and sending, "How are you?" because even in panic, I wanted to look normal. A week later, my number was blocked. I still had keys to his place, old ritual, just in case. A couple times I stood at my own door with those keys in my hand and thought, I'm his mother. Then I pictured him opening the door and seeing me there, uninvited, righteous, and I understood that wouldn't be mother. That would be someone violating boundaries. So I didn't go. For 2 months, I lived inside the silence I created. Days I kept busy, cleaned an already clean kitchen, rearranged things, went to the store like I needed 5 different teas to survive life. Nights, I turned on the TV for background and pretended I was fine. Sometimes I caught myself listening not to the show, but to the quiet between the lines, waiting for a phone to ring inside the empty space. I kept repeating, I only wanted what was best. That phrase is the favorite excuse of people who hurt someone and aren't ready to admit it. He came on his own, no warning, just opened the door with his key and walked in. I jumped like a teenager caught cheating. "Ryan!" I breathed, stepping toward him. He didn't push me away, but he didn't step in either. That half step of distance hurts worse than a slammed door. "Emily's on shift," he said. "I came to talk." I started talking first. That's how I control things. I saw her at the clinic. I saw the way that doctor looks at her. Andrew, Dr. Andrew Polson. Everyone knows. Ryan blinked. "Are you seriously still doing this?" Quietly. "I'm trying to protect you." "Mom," he exhaled slow. "Okay, I'm going to tell you something you don't know, and you're going to try, just for a minute, not to be right." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say I'd always been right, that I raised him, that I carried everything alone. But something in his voice made me stop. "Make tea," he said. "This is going to be a long conversation." Ryan told me about the year in college when he tried to live. Tyler showed up, older, confident, the kind of charm that shuts off caution in young men. Anthony showed up, loud, funny, always, "Come on, relax." Ryan wanted to be like everyone else, wanted to stop being the kid who always did everything right. It started with parties, then alcohol, then something else he described quickly, without details. His tone was enough. This wasn't a story about one time. Then came skipped classes, failed finals, warnings, academic probation, suspension. "I didn't tell you," he admitted. "I was scared. You would have destroyed me." I wanted to say I would have saved him. I didn't, because suddenly I realized saved coming from me might sound a lot like broke you so I could rebuild you. "I started taking money from you," he continued. "At first for food, then more." He looked me in the eye. "I sold your jewelry." Something dropped inside me. I remembered the day I couldn't find my earrings and decided I must have misplaced them. I always decide it's me because the thought my son stole is too terrifying to hold. "I started taking money from you," he continued. "At first for food, then more." He looked me in the eye. "I sold your jewelry." Something dropped inside me. I remembered the day I couldn't find my earrings and decided I must have misplaced them. I always decide it's me because the thought my son stole is too terrifying to hold. "I disappeared for a couple days," Ryan said. "You called the police, remember?" I remembered. Of course I did. The officer asked standard questions. Is he an adult? Is he at risk? Addiction issues? They said adults sometimes leave. Adults sometimes don't want contact. Back then, it felt like indifference. Now I understand. The system doesn't let a mother order the world to bring her adult son back. "I was at a bus stop," Ryan said softly. "Rain, cold. I wasn't thinking straight. I could have died, Mom." I tightened my grip on the mug. Fingers went white. "I looked homeless," he added, with a bitter half-smile, "and I was sure nobody would stop." He paused. The air got heavier. "Then she came up, Emily. We didn't know each other at all. She saw me, asked if I was okay. I mumbled something. She called 911, held my hand until paramedics came, went with me to the ER because I was alone, and in that state, alone is basically a death sentence." He looked at me. "The doctor told me later I was minutes away. She literally stopped it." I sat there trying to understand one thing. How did I not know? Where was I? The answer was simple and brutal. I was home, assuming he was out doing whatever. "She kept coming by afterwards," he continued. "Listened, no lectures, no 'how could you?' She just sat with me." He looked at me like he was checking if I could handle it. "She told me about herself, the small town, the poverty, working and studying, the decision she made. Either she gets out or her whole life stays in just endure it."
I remembered her calm smile at dinner and realized it wasn't humility, it was the habit of not explaining herself. Then Tyler tried to drag me out again to celebrate. I almost went. Emily called. She could tell by my voice where I was. He gave a short, humorless laugh. She said, "If you go there right now, it's over. I can't watch you kill yourself." I pulled in a breath like I'd just surfaced. "And I chose myself for the first time," he said. "I walked away from them. I stopped drowning." He paused. His voice hardened. "That's why I trust her, Mom, because she didn't take money from me. She didn't attach herself. She put into me what money can't measure: time, nerves, responsibility, and she did it when I was nobody." I tried to say, "I didn't know." He didn't let me hide behind it. "You didn't want to know," he said quietly. "It was more convenient for you to believe she was hunting my paycheck, because then you're the good guy. You're protecting. You're not the villain." I sat there feeling my familiar world crack, the one where I'm always the main character. And yes, Dr. Andrew Polson did ask Emily out once. She turned him down, and she asked me not to make a scene because she didn't want you deciding she was a saint compared to your suspicions. She just wanted to live. He stood up. "We're having a baby, and I will not let anyone, Mom, humiliate my wife, not even you." He walked to the door, stopped. "If you want to be part of our life, you're going to have to apologize for real, to Emily, not to me." And he left. I was alone, in a perfectly clean living room, in my order, in a house where everything had its place except me. I thought I was protecting my son. What I was really protecting was my right to be the main woman in his life. Emily didn't steal him. She brought me back a living person, a man who might not have come back at all. And the worst part? There's no one else to blame. Not the police, not the doctors, not bad friends, not fate. Just me. I picked up my phone, opened messages, found Emily's chat. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, because an apology can be controlled, too, if you're doing it for your own relief. I typed, "Emily, I was wrong." Deleted it. Typed again, "I'm sorry." Deleted it. Because I was sorry, and I was even more ashamed. I put the kettle on, turned it off, put it on again. People do pointless little actions when they're trying not to do the one thing that matters, and the thing that mattered was simple and terrifying. Admit that my question at that party wasn't honesty. It was a public slap to a woman who once, in the rain at a bus stop, did what I've always treated as my job. She saved Ryan. Look, I know I messed up. Big time. If this story hit you the way it hit me, hit that like button, subscribe to Anonymous Confessions, and drop a comment. Have you ever had to apologize for something you didn't think you'd ever be wrong about? I'd love to hear your story. And now, one day, if someone puts my grandchild in my arms, it won't be because I earned it. It'll be because Emily is better than me, and maybe, just maybe, strong enough to let me back in. So that's my confession, the moment I burned my whole world down, and why I'm still waiting to see if anyone's left to rebuild with.